Hey, what's going on, man? Brand new episode of the Foul Pole to Foul Pole podcast, brought to you by our friends over at the Carolina Patriot Collegiate League. If you haven't had a chance to check them out yet, man, check it out. It's cpatriotcl.com. Brand new summer softball league coming to the Carolinas during the months of June and July. Going to have incoming college freshmen looking to get their feet wet in the college game. You've got kids in the transfer portal looking for a new home. Then you've got other ones that are just looking to stay sharp. There's a lot going on. Go check it out, cpatriotcl.com. You can register, or fans, you can stay up to date with all the information. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at the Nexus Mount. Our turnkey kits provide a secure and hassle-free way to attach multiple devices to any fence, net, or tripod. Crafted from lightweight aluminum with a powder-coated finish, our mounts are built to last. But that's not all. Our innovative design features a removable shade cover to protect your devices from direct sunlight during your outdoor streaming events, which will minimize the risk of overheating. Don't settle for anything less than perfection. Unleash the full potential of your streaming experience with the Nexus Mount. Visit us today at thenexusmount.com and elevate your game. All right, let's jump right into it today. I'm your host, Coach Tyler from Black Diamond Softball and Fitness. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, and today we're going to get into sort of overcoming adversity and continuing to push without getting discouraged. A lot of times athletes will get discouraged and they think it's the end-all be-all, and they just can't hack it, or they can't do it, or it's too rough, it's too tough. I've got too much going on. Just there's a whole lot of stuff going on in that teenage mind to where they're having trouble sort of figuring out priorities. And us as parents, as leaders, as coaches, as mentors, we sort of have to guide them without making decisions for them. Because if we make decisions for them, it's just like in society, if you're told to do something, it makes you not want to do it. That's just how life is. It's different than when we were growing up. If you're looking back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we just did what we were supposed to do because we were told to do it. And nowadays, it's almost like if you tell a kid to do something, the very first thing that they want to do is not do that. So that kind of goes along with sort of sports and athletics and sort of this environment that we're in. These athletes nowadays and kids alike, they have all the answers, right? They know everything. For some reason, they don't realize that we were there before them. We have the experience, and they can learn from our experience. And then sometimes the athlete or the player or the kid or whatever just has to figure it out on their own, and that's the way it goes. But your relationship is different with your athletes and your kids and you know, whoever it is that you're teaching. So as we go through this today, try to pick out some of the things that you can use, or look at some things and say, hey, I've done that before, and yes, that did work for me. With my daughters and my teams, we sort of have a conversation piece. That's sort of where I come from. I don't come at them as if what I say is the gospel. I let them know my experience if it's warranted at that time, if I do have some experience so I can speak on it. And then other times we have this conversation because I want to feel whatever it is that they're feeling, whatever they're going through, whatever they're thinking, whatever they're experiencing. I want to get a full scope of everything with them. So that way, when they do come to you for advice, or they do come to you for that conversation, they're not holding back. They are able to talk about it and be as upfront, as honest as they can. And that's sort of the first key point is honesty. Allowing that kid to be honest with themselves first. That's number one. If they can't be honest with themselves first, then they're not going to be honest with you with whatever it is that they're going through. They're going to be intimidated. They're going to be scared. They're going to be sort of gun shy when it comes to opening up. So us as parents, and we'll talk to the parents first about that honesty thing. We don't want to be their best friends as parents. We have to guide them a certain way, and we don't want it to be sort of that best friend relationship. There needs to be that level of respect, and that's on you to get that from them. Usually, but not in all cases, but usually, if there's a level of respect between the two parties, the level of honesty will be there as well. Honesty will match that level of respect. If for whatever reason, your team or your kids don't respect, what you say or what you do or how you do it or whatever, they're probably not going to be too honest with you. There's always going to be excuses why they're going to be able to sort of, they'll tell you, yep, everything is fine. and which you can tell, they know, everybody knows that everything's not fine. There's something going on. There's something holding them back that's in their mind that's sort of blocking their performance, whether it's in the classroom or on the athletic field, that honesty level. So building that trust with them goes along with that respect. So you have trust, you have honesty, you have respect. Those three kind of build this triangle of their personality, at least the personality that they're willing to show you. We all have different personalities. Somebody could see you one day and have a conversation with you, be like, wow, that person is happy-go-lucky. Every time I've seen them, that's the way they are. But on the flip side, someone could have a different opinion of your personality. Just be like, they are, closed off. They don't speak a whole lot. They, whatever. It could be just a different scenario. So that personality sort of rolls in with that. If someone is open and talking and willing to discuss whatever it is that they're going through, they probably have an outgoing personality. Now, check that. Know somebody that's in your area or on your team or around you or whatever, and compare those two. Someone that's sort of open and willing to talk about things, that's the way their personality is around you when you see them. So as guidance counselors in the school, or a teacher, someone that's raising their hand and constantly being involved in the conversation is more than likely going to be open to talking about certain things, or talking about what could be bothering them, or things that they're struggling with. Someone that is more shy, someone that is sort of reserved, they're going to be less likely to talk about what might be going on, what could be a concern. So if we roll it back to our teams and we roll it back to our athletes, that could be stressed out about a test, could be stressed out about a tryout coming up, or a big game coming up, or maybe they were the ace pitcher and now they've kind of fallen back and someone else is getting that spotlight or whatever. We need to be able to open up that line of communication with them. We don't want to tell them how to feel, or you should feel like this, don't feel like that, because what we do is we minimize their feelings. We don't want to minimize what they're feeling, because their feelings are true. And you guys have heard this before. I talked about this a few months back about having those true feelings and it being okay with that athlete to feel that way, because they're natural. They're organic. You can't expect anyone to strike out and be okay with it. You can't expect anyone to have a couple of errors in an inning and be okay with it. You have to allow them to have their time to sort of process that. And then if it continues to linger, that's where we have that problem where that could lead into something else. So you got a kid that might have a bad day at school, maybe missed an assignment, maybe failed a quiz, maybe didn't do so well on a test, whatever. Now you got them going to the practice field. They don't have a really good day with BP. They don't really do very well for whatever reason with taking some defense. And then all of a sudden this sort of snowballs into that first game or that next game. And it's just like, man, they are down in the dumps here. And we hate that word slump, but that word slump could mean a lot of different things to anybody. If we breathe life into it, like Coach Mandy says, if we breathe life into that word slump, or if we, breathe life into anything negative, then it can actually take over us. So we have to be able to communicate this with our young ones and say, hey, look, errors are a part of it. Striking out's a part of it. Messing up assignment is a part of life. Not getting the result that you want is a part of life. Now, we don't like it. We don't have to like it. We don't have to accept it. We can figure out a way to move on from that by, I'm going to double down on this week's assignment. I'm going to sort of readdress my scheduling as far as studying, or readdress how I put my energy into it, fix my study hours or something. So we can talk about that. Maybe we can sit down and talk with the teacher. That's a change that we could make to sort of overcome that. So we're learning that process. We're learning a little bit about ourselves. We talked a little bit yesterday about experience, right? We learn from our experiences. That's the hardest teacher in life, is that experience, because a lot of times we are tested before we learn our lesson. So you learn your lesson from that experience. And it's the same thing in the classroom as it is on the ball field. If we are just not picking the ball up really good out of the pitcher's hand, or this week we've got lefties and I've struggled with lefties, or whatever, you got to put that extra work in. If you don't put that extra work in, you're not being honest with yourself. You're just hoping that, man, I hope it goes different this time. But be honest with yourself. This is where I struggle at. This is where I need to get better at. And that goes back to that whole honesty piece. Athletes need to be honest with themselves. Don't just settle for it is what it is. Be honest with yourself and say, hey, you know what? If I worked at it, I could get better. Or at least I tried to get better. And I'm going to continue to push until I am better. And that's the truth of the matter. So, respect that athlete enough to give them that constructive criticism and say, hey, look, man, I see you're doing this hitting good and you're doing your pitching and you're doing this and then that. But, X, Y, and Z could be better if. You know what I mean? Like, help them. Don't bash them. I mean, that's not what we do as coaches, but, let them know. I've noticed this. I'm sure you've noticed this. We could do this, this, and this to help that. It's just like a teacher does in a classroom. If you're struggling and it's taking you a long time to figure out this math problem, that teacher may see that, may know that, and say, hey, do you have this? Or you got this? And a lot of times, 99% of the time, that student athlete's going to say, yeah, I got it. That teacher's going to be like, all right, cool, you got it then. They're not going to, go above and beyond to help if you tell them you got it. But if you're honest, if your kids are honest with it and say, hey, you know what? I sort of understand it, but I need some more practice. Can you help me with this? Can you do one more problem? That's when that kid sort of humbles himself a little bit. And it's tough. Think of you as an adult going to your boss and like, yeah, I could wing this and just get through it. Hopefully nobody knows anything. Or I can be like, you know what? Let me make sure I got this. Can we do another one? Or can we talk about it just a little bit so I get some clarification? And that's tough, man. That's tough on an adult. That's tough on a youngin'. That's tough. That honesty piece, when it talks about overcoming adversity. No one talks about that a lot. I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about being honest with yourself when it pertains to adversity. It's okay not to be the best. We're not all going to be the best. It's very tough to find someone that's the best at whatever. You can look at basketball greats, football greats, softball greats. It's an opinion. The only opinion that matters is the opinion that you have of yourself and the loved ones that you care about, their opinion of you, because you don't want to disrespect them. You don't want to let them down. But the major key is that honesty piece. You got to be honest. Be honest with yourself. So as you get into this week, we're midway through the week. We may have been struggling earlier on this week. We may have been dealing with something. We may have had a test that we just didn't feel like studying for. We could be in the middle of spring break and we're letting loose, cutting out and just doing our thing. But before we get back into the classroom, we are going to, reset our personal rules. We're going to be honest with ourselves. That Sunday night before we go to school, let's go ahead and set some of those goals. Last week or last quarter, we didn't do the greatest. We had softball going on. My focus went to softball. I'm gonna be honest with myself here. I wasn't focused on enough. I need to finish this last quarter of the school year so that I'll be happy with myself, because that summer is short. I'm starting a brand new season, starting a brand new school year. So parents, mentors, coaches, teachers, have that conversation with them and say, hey, look, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, it's always good to take a step back and reassess your goals that you had, reassess your performance both in the classroom and on the ball field, figure out where you can get better at, figure out where you exceeded your expectations at, make some adjustments, be confident in the fact that you are taking an assessment of where you're at and what you're doing. Those honest assessments are what makes the difference in athletes. The late, great Kobe Bryant, man, he wouldn't settle for anything other than perfection. And it took a long time for him to realize, like, I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to continue to strive to be the absolute best I can be. And if I push myself to be the best athlete I can be, then I will be one of the greats. There's a lot of motivational speeches and a lot of talks and stuff from Kobe. I pull from a lot of his stuff. And he worked harder than anybody. And that kind of goes back to honesty within himself. If I want to be the best, I have to outwork everybody. Now, is it possible to outwork everybody? Probably not. I mean, we throw that around like she won't be outworked. And there are a lot of times where, hey, this kid just works her butt off. And you're probably going to be able to match how hard she works, but you're just not going to be able to outwork her because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That kid may wake up every day at 5, get her workout in, hit 200 balls, and then go to school. Or the kid may wake up at 5, study a little bit when they first wake up, go for a run, come back, hit some balls, and then go to school. You never know what people are doing behind the scenes. But you also got to be honest with yourself. Are you going to be able to commit to that? Because that's what it takes. I mean, everybody, the goal is to play ball at the next level for a lot of girls. Everybody wants to continue playing that childhood game and that they grew up playing. But are you willing to do what it takes? Because the population that plays at the next level continues to get smaller and smaller the higher you go. So you can't be the same player at the 14U level that you were at the 10 and 12. And you can't be that same player at the high school level that you were at 14s. You got to continue to rise above. You got to continue to push yourself. And it goes back to it, man. You've got to be honest with where you're at and what you do. You can talk a big game and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you can tell people this is what you do. But if it's not, the truth where you are putting in that work, you're just lying to yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure. And, it goes back to when I was talking about living with regret. And regret is awful. It's awful. Being honest and staying honest will help you not to live with regret. I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. Man, continue to put that hard work in. If you tell somebody you're going to, go do this work, go do that work. If you tell yourself, I need to go do this. Yeah, you probably do. But there's a lot of times where athletes just go through the motions. They just do their own thing. And they're not necessarily paying too much attention to it. They haven't done an assessment on where they're at. They haven't really focused in like, okay, am I doing what's right? Am I wasting my time here? Or I'm on the right track to sort of continue this grind? Those honest assessments, man, are huge. You can do it at any point in time in your life, during the course of a season, during a school year, at any point in time. If you're not satisfied with what you're getting, go for it. Change something up. Set a new goal. That's a cool thing about goals, man. Set a new goal. I got a goal this week. I'm going to do this or this. Never set this goal before. Cool. Go for it. You don't have to tell anybody. Tell yourself. Or you can tell your best friend. You can tell your parents. There's something about me. Like if I tell someone that I want to do something or I'm going to do something, it sort of puts that little bit of pressure on me that I like. I like that pressure. Hey, this week I'm going to do whatever. And like if in my case, like where you're married, you tell your spouse that this is what I want to do or whatever. So it sort of speaks it into existence. It's not just like a secret, or it's not just like a self thing. Like you feel this sort of pressure. And I'm not talking about like bad pressure, this added pressure where it's like, it controls you. I'm talking about it's that good pressure. You have a conversation of, hey, I got some goals. I want to tell you about my goals. And it's like you guys, talk to your best friends or talk to your parents and say, hey, this week I want to get up a little bit earlier this week and do this or that. So set that goal and whatever. And of course, most of the time your friends or your parent might forget it until you bring it back up again, or they could stay engaged with it. But hey, you set that goal. How's it going? And then there we come with that honesty. You can blow them off, say, oh yeah, I'm good. Or you can say, I'm doing pretty well with it. I'm actually surprised that I'm able to do this or this. So I'm going to run this one for a little while, and then I'm going to set some new goals. So it's all about, man, truth, respect, and honesty. If you truly respect yourself, be truthful with yourself. Be honest with what you're doing. And that's going to help you be a better person. It's going to help you become a better leader, a better teammate, a better classmate, a better son, a better daughter, a better mom, a better dad. Truth, honesty, respect. Add those 3 words into everything that you're doing in life. If you're true to yourself and you do want to get better and you want to take your game to that next level, respect yourself enough to give it your all. And be truthful about it. Man, I didn't work as hard as I could have. You're running sprints at the end of practice. You're running poles at the end of practice. You're taking those extra 50 cuts. Be truthful with yourself if you're giving it your all. If you're not, be honest. Hey, I've got to work my butt off. Be honest. Say, hey, you know what? I didn't do everything I could have. Then you set another goal. And then you assess that goal. You won't stay the same. You'll either stop setting goals because you don't care, or you'll start reaching those goals. All right? Please be sure to check out the sponsors, cpatriotscl.com. Check them out. New Summer League coming this June and July up in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area. Got a lot of stuff going on. Players, if you want to register for that event, make sure you do so, cpatriotscl.com. Fans, there's a lot of information going to be coming out, so make sure you stay up to date with that website. For all the mamas and the daddies and all the aunts and the uncles that want to stream the games, maybe stream a lesson. Kids, if you guys want to do the same thing, check out thenexusmount.com. A very affordable option to streaming, recording yourself, whether it's a Mevo, a GoPro, a cell phone, whatever it is that you have. Check them out. It's thenexusmount.com. Make sure you tell them that Tyler sent you from Black Diamond Softball and Fitness. Let them know. If you know someone that likes these type of podcasts, just a dude sitting in his office talking to you guys, man, I appreciate it, and I want you to share it. Share it with somebody you know, and as always, if you share it with a friend, be sure you tell them you love them.